Hi, Professor. For this assignment, I created a Nearpod lesson, and I've titled it Protecting California's Kelp Forest Ecosystems, and this is for the 5th grade STEM classes. The lessons are based around the California NGSS Standard 5-LS2-1. My goal for my students is to identify organisms that live in the kelp forest here in Southern California and be able to explain how they depend on one another by creating a food web. Throughout the lesson, I have included different ways to support all learners. My students can go through pictures, video, vocabulary activities, discussion posts, and hands-on interactive slides. There are also several ways to show what they have learned and their knowledge through answering poll questions, drawing a food web, and responding to open-ended questions. These activities let me check for understanding throughout my lesson and to make changes if students need support. So their goal is to identify a food web and be able to create their own food web. My essential questions that I am asking for this lesson is, why is our kelp forest ecosystem important to our local marine life? And how do plants and animals depend on one another in their ecosystems? So we are going to start off with, what do you already know? So going through our class in our science lesson, I will have I have slides that depict different parts of our California ecosystem in relations to our food web. And that's going to be over in week 2 of this topic, where we talk about the kelp forest ecosystems and our vocabulary. As well as I introduced the concept of a food chain and food web in our week 1 in feeding relations. So I have an example of what a food chain is, as well as an example of a food web, and then 2 different videos that support that from our last week's lesson. How I'm going to integrate all of this is in my lesson plan. I am going to go through my lectures and our daily assignments that we're going to be doing. And this is going to be kind of at the end of the week. I will maybe, like, when I taught in summer school, there was no Friday. So this would be my Thursday that they would grab their Chromebooks. I would do a couple slides, and their workbooks are geared to be compatible with my slides. And then in their workbook, they have to label a food web and create their own. And then using the Chromebook, this is where they are going to use the Nearpod link to do this lesson. So here they're going to imagine that they are swimming through our underwater forest, and what animals and plants would you see? This is all prior knowledge given to the week before, when those ecosystems have been introduced, as well as both week 1 and week 2 of this topic. We go through different vocabulary words. So here I have an example of our vocabulary list. So they need to find and be able to match the correct definition with the correct word. Going forward, for review, I have what is a kelp forest, parts of our kelp, and then animals that live here, And then I have a great Ecosystems of California video that was done up in Northern California with the Marine Institute. And that is covering our Southern California marks as well as it is review for earlier this week when we talk about our kelp forest ecosystems, as well as different species of kelp and what is kelp, and then a recap of the video in case anyone was absent. They can go back to that information. And then I have some simple questions. Which one of these organisms is a producer? It's going to be our kelp. And then here I have an example of a food web. This is going to be an image that they are going to be familiar about because it is an image that we talked about last week in our in-class discussion about our food relationships of a food chain and a food web. So it is a review visual. And then here they are going to have to create their own food web and labeling it. So this is going to be in correspondence to the activity in their workbook where they have to do something similar, but this is on a more casual platform. So here in my example food web that I made for you, I have my sun and our kelp, which is an algae, is photosynthesizing. The urchin will eat the holdfast, which is the root system of the kelp. Our sea otter will be eating our urchin, and then our orca will be enjoying a nice sea otter. Then we are going to move forward into what happens if pollution destroys our kelp forest. This is going to be a review on our ecosystems and food chains of if we take something out, what is going to happen, as well as going into our lesson from week 2 and what happens. One of the examples that I used in our lessons is a sea urchin barren, where the sea urchins have been taking majority of the kelp ecosystem and eating at it because we have removed and decreased the population of sea otters, and as well as the pollution of our DDT that is in the channel between Los Angeles and Catalina and Anacapa Island, which is due to back in, I believe, the 40s, big giant companies were dumping their harmful chemical waste. So there's a lot of different ways to connect pollution with human impact as well as our marine food web right here in Southern California. We then go to our time to climb, which is going to be answering questions in relations to our topics that we are covering, and it's going to be an interactive game where they are going to answer questions and try to gather as many points as they can to win the game. And then our ending part will be just some questions about what they have learned today. So today I learned, what did we learn, or what did we recap? I still have questions about, so this is going to be a great way for me to see where people might still have questions or might be confused, and they don't want to raise their hand, they don't want to ask me, they don't want to ask their classmates. This is a great communication platform. And then I always like to end my classes in the science part of one thing that they can do today to help the ocean, whether that is picking up trash at the lunch tables to, instead of tossing that water bottle, put it in the recycling bin. So that is what I have done for my lessons. Thank you.
I need to change the 1 and the 20 on their mind check. Something's special. Hell yeah.